Okay, sit yourself onto your left and come into good cross-legged position. And just spend a moment or two just to really establish your balance. Just spend a few moments just observing the seat bones, just feeling whether you're sitting level or whether you kind of feel like you're kind of leaning to one side or the other. Just spend a little time just in observation. Hold onto your knees and really consciously elevate your heart area up towards the ceiling, drawing your shoulders down away from your ears. Just look down at the floor, look at something that isn't moving. Just listen to the sound of the breath. Listen to the sound of the breath as it enters and as it exits. Soften your jaw and your tongue and your throat. Just keep your eyes looking at the floor, at something that doesn't move. Soften the tongue and the throat. And just after having sat for a little while, just go back to the seat bones and observe whether the seat bones feel that they are level. And then bring your hands into Namaste, pressing the palms firmly together, lengthen from your armpits into your elbows. Elbows into the heels of the hands into the fingertips. Take a deep inhalation, and with an exhalation, allow your eyes to gently close. Listening to the sound of the breath as it enters and as it exits. Just consciously filling the lungs from the bottom to the top and emptying your lungs from the top to the bottom. Just focusing on long, slow, deep, deliberate inhalations and long, slow, deep, deliberate exhalations, drawing your focus into the breath. Gently draw your chin down to meet your chest, raising the chest up to meet your chin. Spend a moment to seek to generate a genuine, heartfelt sense of gratitude for something or someone or somewhere. Hold on to that feeling of abundance in the heart area, and then release the backs of your hands down toward your knees, palms facing upwards. And as you raise your head, allow your eyes to softly open. Just hold onto your knees and elevate the heart area upwards, drawing the shoulders down away from your ears. We're just going to start off with a little bit of Brahmari. So remember, Brahmari is a hummed exhalation on a low note until you run out of breath, until the lungs are empty. And then when the lungs are empty and the sound of the humming stops, then you just take a normal inhalation from the bottom of the lungs to the top. And then it's just, you cycle around that hummed out breath until the lungs are empty, and then normal inhalations. So just take some normal breaths, just normal inhalations, normal exhalations. And then just take a normal exhalation, followed by a normal inhalation. And then we'll do 2 Brahmaris. And then just bring the breath back to a normal rhythm. Just observe where there was resonance. Observe the sound of the breath. Just feel that energy from the inhalation and the exhalation. So we're going to cover the face. So you bring the middle finger, you draw it onto the eyelid. So you don't press in, you just draw down. So it's important that you don't press in because you don't want to kind of damage your eye. So you draw the middle finger down the eyelid just to keep the eyelid closed, and then the index finger connects to the ring. The index finger connects to the middle finger. So you block out the light. Then the ring fingers press the bridge of the nose, so you constrict the airwaves slightly. So you just constrict the airwaves, and then the little finger connects just to the ring finger, and then you close the flap of the ears with the thumb. Okay, so let's just do that. So, and then we're going to do 4 or 5 Brahmaris. So this is a different experience of Brahmari. So whenever you're ready, just normal inhalations, normal exhalations for a moment. Take a normal exhalation, a normal inhalation, and then 4 or 5 Brahmaris. And just one more. And then release Sanmukhi Mudra. Bring the hands onto the backs of the hands onto the knees, with the thumb and the index finger in connection, stretching the ring finger and the middle finger and the little finger away. And then bringing the breath back to a normal rhythm, gently open your eyes. Just be aware that your eyes might be a little blurry after Sanmukhi Mudra. Just see if you can observe the energy of the Brahmari pranayama, just resting in the maintained resonance in the jaw, in the throat, maybe even in the chest. So Brahmari pranayama, or humming, is a really good way to clear out the sinuses. So the sinus air, rarely, it takes a couple of hours to kind of circulate, but when you hum, it resonates the air in the sinuses and changes the air within 10 seconds apparently. Hold on to your knees, lift up into your chest, elevating the heart area upwards, drawing your shoulders down away from your ears. Take a deep inhalation and then turn to the right side, drawing your abdomen across and your ribs and your shoulders. Keeping the neck soft, just looking forwards with the head. Try not to twist the neck. Just observe how this feels on the inside. And then come back to the center. Just hold onto your knees, lift up into the chest, and then turn to the left. Just observing your breath, observing the energy of the breath. And then gently come back to the center. And then come off your lift, and then we're going to go into Adho Mukha virasana, but I want you to have a bolster between your knees. If you haven't got a bolster, just use some cushions or a pillow. So you got the bolster between the knees. You're going to lift up into the chest and then stretch yourself forwards and then come across the bolster. So you get a different experience in your back. Keep the head lifted, keep the chin driving towards the hands. You also get a better lift of the chest. You may certainly find it more challenging to keep the seat bones down, however. So it's good to plug that gap with a block or a folded blanket, just so that you still have somewhere to press into, to create a grounding action of the spine. Because if the spine is up in the air, then it's difficult to extend it. So stamp the seat bones into the block or into the blanket or whatever it is that you've got between the seat bones and the heels, and then lengthen the front chest forwards. Observe how much more space you have in the abdomen, and you use the bolster. Stretch your arms away. If it starts to become a bit uncomfortable in your neck, you could just rest your head on one side, but keep the arms extending deeply. Rest on the other side. or extend forwards. Just breathe in, filling the lungs from the bottom to the top. And then release, just sit back on your heels again. Just keep the bolster or the cushions or whatever you're using where it is. And then come up into dog down. And the idea is to use the bolster to support your head. But I don't want you to bend your elbows to reach the floor. It's just kind of underneath your head. So if you need to make less space, then take the bolster away, maybe put a block underneath your head. If you need to create more space, if you need to lift the bolster up a little, then put a block underneath the bolster. Otherwise, just find your dog down with your forehead or the top of your head supported. And then just focus again on filling the lungs from the bottom to the top. So just maintaining the pose, maintaining the breath, maintaining that focus on filling the lungs from the bottom to the top, on emptying the lungs from the top to the bottom. With the head supported, the pose becomes a little quieter. And then come down onto your knees. Just sit back on your heels for a moment. Just observe the lightness of your energy around the chest and around the head. And then just come up into a standing position. Keep the bolster, because you're going to use that for your head. Have your feet as wide apart as your mat. Hinge at the hips, come forwards. Have blocks underneath your hands if your hands don't reach the floor. And then come forward into half uttanasana. So with the bolster supporting the head, if you haven't got a bolster, then you can just use a chair and put a couple of blocks on top of the chair so that your head is supported. So breathe in through the nose and out through the nose, listening to the breath. Press the kneecaps through to the backs of the knees. Press the fronts of the thighs through to the backs of the thighs. Turn the fronts of the thighs inwards so that the backs of the thighs broaden outwards. Extend the spine away from the legs. Keep focus on the breath. Just normal inhalations, normal exhalations, feeling how the chest expands with the in-breath and relaxes with the out-breath. So if you don't have a bolster, it's a really good investment. They're quite expensive, about 50 quid for a decent bolster. But this bolster that I'm using here is an oblong bolster, and these are cheaper. So I've got a tubular one and an oblong one. This is softer and it's slightly longer than the other. So these are a little bit cheaper. So it's a really good investment to get yourself a bolster. So just supporting your head, just listening to the breath. Okay, and then just lift your head, bring your hands into your hips, bend your knees on the way up if you need to, and then come up into Tadasana, inner edge of the feet together. Just lift the head. Just breathe in through the nose and out through the nose. Maybe you feel kind of taller. Breathe in through the nose and out through the nose. So we've been pressing into the forehead, which helps to quieten the brain. So stay in your Tadasana, activating your legs really firmly, tucking the tailbone in, lifting the front rim of the pelvis up to the abdomen up to the diaphragm up to the collarbone. Just feeling the expansion and contraction of the rib cage in time with the breath. Okay, we're going to come down into supta baddha konasana, but with a bolster underneath your back. So again, if you haven't got a bolster, just use some cushions just to give yourself a slight elevation in the chest. And if you can, have a blanket for your head as well, just to support your head. And then we're going to come into supta baddha konasana. So you pull your feet towards you. If you've got a belt handy, then it can be good to make the belt as big a loop as you can, just like this. And then keeping the buckle side facing you and try not to get it twisted. Put the loop around your lower back and then thread the belt between your two knees and then around the bottom of your feet and then pull it tight. So you kind of truss yourself up like a chicken in the butcher's. So you just pull the belt relatively tight. I haven't got my glasses on, but it looks like everyone's doing that. Okay, so you keep it around the lowest part of the back and try and avoid twists if you can in the belt. And then you're just gonna lift the chest and guide yourself down along the bolster. And then what's really important is that your head doesn't roll back. If your head is rolling back and your chin is really high like this, it won't be a quiet in action. So just get hold of the back of your neck, lengthening the back of the neck away from the shoulders, and then bring the head down. If your head still feels like it's rolling back, then put some additional lift underneath your head. So give yourself a good lift of your head so that it feels supported, and so that you can relax into it. And then when you're in supta baddha konasana, then I just want you to focus on your breath, just the same breath that we've been doing. So filling the lungs from the bottom to the top and emptying your lungs from the top to the bottom. So we can do a little bit of Viloma pranayama. But just for the moment, just observe the breath. Observe the sound of the breath, the sensation of the breath, how the body accommodates the breath by opening the chest, and how the out breath relaxes the intercostal muscles between the ribs and relaxes the chest in general. So Viloma pranayama it literally translates as against the hair. So it's effectively kind of going against the natural rhythm of breathing. It's deeply energizing. You've got to do it with gentleness. It involves retention, kumbhaka, it's called. So that retention of the breath must always remain soft and gentle and not a grip. It should never feel like there's a grip. So with Viloma pranayama, the first stage is where we breathe from the perineum up to the collarbone with the in-breath, and from the collarbone down to the perineum with the out-breath. So it's just a deeper extension of the breath from the bottom of the lungs to the top. So we do it from the perineum, which is the area at the base of the spine, and breathe up to the collarbone, and then from the collarbone down to the perineum with the out breath. So just do a few cycles of that deeper breath from the perineum to the collarbone, from the collarbone to the perineum. Just by focusing on the breath, we bring energy into the body. So in a moment or two, we're going to begin with the first stage of Viloma. So this is just the first stage of Ujjayi at the moment, just focusing on the activation and the physical outcome of the breath. First stage of pranayama, Viloma pranayama is where you breathe from the bottom of the lung, bottom of the perineum, all the way up to the collarbone with the in-breath. But it's like you're climbing a ladder and you stop on each rung of the ladder. So as you stop, you just suspend the breath. There should be no grip. You just stop the breathing for a second or two, and then you carry on and you take another portion of breath, and then you stop at the next step of the ladder for a second or two, and you breathe in a little more, stop at the next rung of the ladder, and then you continue in that way until the lungs feel full. And then just a normal exhalation from the perineum down to the collarbone without any interruptions. So you're interrupting the in-breath. So if your in-breath is normally 10 seconds long, then it becomes 20 seconds long. So you effectively double the length of the in-breath. If at any stage this makes you feel tense or anxious, just draw your breath back to normal rhythm. So just to take a normal inhalation, a normal exhalation, and then when you're ready, start to interrupt the in-breath, holding, suspending the breath from the diaphragm just for a second or two each time until the lungs are full. So whenever you're ready. So there should never be any strain. There should never be any tension around the chest or around the neck or around the head. Just gentleness. So if it becomes too much to do continual cycles, then you can just do normal breath or two in between cycles. Just a few more cycles. Okay, and then just complete with a normal exhalation, and then bring the breath back to a normal rhythm. Just let the body recover. So we ingest more of the oxygen that we inhale. And so this practice of Viloma pranayama brings great benefits in energy, a feeling of lightfulness. And then when you've recovered, just push your elbows into the floor, lift yourself up, just lift the chest, and then just slide the belt off your legs, and then just stretch your legs out so they might be a little bit reluctant to release, and then just let the legs relax for a moment, and then just come back onto the bolster. So in this heart pose, the legs can relax, and you can let the back relax. Okay, and then when you've recovered, sit yourself up, and then just take the belt, the loop off you, and then we're going to do supta virasana using the bolster. Now, if the bolster doesn't feel high enough for you, then if you've got two bolsters, you can layer two bolsters up on top of each other, but that might be a little bit high. So another way of just increasing the height of your existing bolster is just to put a couple of blocks along the floor, and then just have the bolster on top of the blocks, just so you give yourself good height. So you want a little bit of extra height, perhaps, unless you're used to the pose, and unless you know that you can find comfort within the pose. So if you're not doing supta virasana because of bad knees, you can always put a belt into the back of the knee, like this, and then you just pull it away as you sit back down, and then you can let go, and that will maintain space in the back of your knee. But if you really don't want to do supta virasana, if it's one of your kind of most challenging poses, then you can just do the heart pose where your legs are stretched out. Otherwise, we're gonna keep the belt in the loop, and then we're gonna tie our legs together, and then use the belt just to keep the legs together. So in supta virasana, the legs always want to kind of come apart a little bit. So just have it around the center of the thighs, and just so you can still keep your feet wide enough apart so you can sit between the seat bones, but it's just going to hold your legs in place. And then you're going to lift up into the chest, and then just gently drive yourself down onto the floor. Then you turn the tailbone in, you draw the buttock flesh away from the sacrum spine, just to give the sacrum some support. And then you just release down into the floor. So the second stage of Viloma pranayama is where you take normal inhalations from the perineum to the collarbone, and then you interrupt the out breath. So you interrupt the out breath intermittently until the lungs are empty. So when you're ready, just go back to just normal observational breath. And then just a normal exhalation, and followed by inhalation from the perineum to the collarbone. And then we'll interrupt the out breath. Just completing the cycle that you're currently working on. And then bring your breath back to a normal rhythm. No longer holding the breath. Just normal inhalations, normal exhalations. And then when you're ready, push your elbows into the floor. Just bring yourself back up into the seated position. Just remove the belt and then come up onto your knees. And then gently turn your toes under. We're just going to go up into gentle dog down and narrow dog down, just stretching out of the pose. Although we normally avoid it, you can stretch the heels down to the floor just to stretch out the legs, to stretch out the calf muscles, just to stretch out any discomfort. Again, just normal breathing. Just observing how you have filled your body with energy from the breath. Just come down onto your knees and then just move the bolster out of the way, and then just have a blanket for underneath your head. Just bring yourself down along your mat. Make sure you're in a really good straight line down the center of your mat, supporting the back of your head and the neck with a folded blanket. And then close your eyes, just normal breathing. Normal inhalations, normal exhalations. Maybe your breath feels different. Maybe it feels lighter, deeper. Just observe that lightness of energy radiating out from the bones and into the muscles. Feeling that energy radiating into the muscles and into the organs. Into the flesh and the skin. Just be conscious of that lightness of energy down into the tips of the toes, the tips of the fingers, into the top of the head, distributing it with the breath. And when you're ready to disturb yourself, just gently wriggle your toes, wiggle your fingers, and then just bring your knees in toward your chest. Just have a little rock from side to side, from top to bottom, just ironing out the kinks in the spine. And then when you're ready, just gently roll yourself over onto your side. And then straighten out the top leg, come back up into a seated position. Just have your hands in the masti. Just a final spinal lift, drawing your breath in through your nose down into the abdomen. Be conscious of the energy that you have released through your practice this morning, that good, positive, healthy flow of clean energy that the extensions and the forward bends, and twists, and the pranayama bring to the body and to the mind. And then draw your chin down to meet your chest. Spend a moment to seek to generate a genuine, heartfelt sense of gratitude for something or someone or somewhere. Acknowledging that positive energy you have created inside. And then send some of that positive energy out into the world. And then gently release the backs of your hands down toward your knees, palms facing upwards. And as you raise your head, allow your eyes eyes to softly open and the focus to softly come back. Thank you very much. So hopefully you feel as though you've really lifted your energy and you've got lots of good positive energy to put into your day. So thank you very much for joining me.